Welcome to the Deep Dive. Ready to get deep? Today we're going to be exploring someone's mind, kind of like reading a diary, but like spanning almost 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Our listener gave us this YouTube video. It's called Nocturnidades Con Genrimain.
Okay.
And it's this guy, Genrimain, going back and looking at all these Facebook posts he made from like 2013 to 2020. Just all these random thoughts and ideas and, seeing how they've changed over time.
So it's like we're tracing the evolution of his thinking.
Yeah, exactly. It's super raw and unfiltered, which is what makes it so fascinating. No carefully crafted presentation or anything.
It's like we're getting a glimpse into his unedited stream of consciousness.
Exactly. And he starts us off in 2013 with this really striking image. It's in a post called Cosmic Gardener.
Oh, interesting.
It's this picture of an alien, like an extraterrestrial being out in a field tilling the soil. And he's basically saying that we humans, we're like these cosmic gardeners, responsible for taking care of the earth. He even calls it the Garden of Eden. It's like we're supposed to be nurturing positive change and making the world a better place.
It's a powerful metaphor. It connects us to this idea of stewardship. Like we're caretakers of something much bigger than ourselves.
Right. And it makes you think about, like, what kind of seeds are we planting with our actions, our words,
Yeah. It's not just about our own little gardens, is it? It's about recognizing that we're all part of this huge interconnected web of life.
Exactly. Okay, so then in another post, also from 2013, this one's called Question for the Wise. Henry throws out this thought experiment.
Oh.
He asks, if you could ask the wisest being in the universe any question to, like, alleviate suffering, what would it be?
Wow. That's a deep one.
I know, right? But then he has this twist. He says, look inward for the answer. Like maybe the wisest being is actually inside of us.
It's like he's challenging us to question where we seek guidance and wisdom, Do we look to external authorities or do we cultivate that inner knowing?
Right. It's so thought-provoking. I'm curious, what would you ask, listener? What question would you pose to that inner wise being?
It's a question that can really send you down a rabbit hole. Makes you think about the nature of suffering, the limits of human knowledge, and the possibility that we might already have the answers within us.
Okay, now fast forward to 2017. We come across this post called Wanting as Power. Henry takes that old saying where there's a will, there's a way, and he kind of flips it. He says, wanting is a power.
Interesting.
And to illustrate this, he uses this image of a couple climbing a hill together, side by side. He's suggesting that shared desires, that mutual support, that can actually amplify this power of wanting.
Oh, I see. It's like when we share our goals and dreams with others and they support us, it gives us this extra boost of motivation, right? Like we can achieve anything together.
Exactly. And it made me think about the concept of manifestation too. That idea that if you focus on what you want and you visualize it and you truly believe it's possible, you're actually more likely to make it happen.
There's definitely something to that. I mean, studies have shown that visualization techniques can improve performance in all sorts of areas. Like athletes use it all the time to mentally prepare for competitions.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. There's this post from 2014 called Filling the Heart. Henry's talking about, cultivating love and compassion. He contrasts filling the heart with love with what he calls the poison of separatist thinking. So
it's about choosing love over division and judgment.
Exactly. And he even suggests going to sleep with a heart full of what he calls the divine.
That's interesting. It makes me think about the connection between our emotional state and our physical well-being. Like, could filling our hearts with love and compassion actually improve our sleep?
You know what? I've noticed that when I take a few minutes before bed to think about things I'm grateful for, or to send loving thoughts to people in my life, I do sleep better. It's like I'm intentionally clearing out all the mental clutter.
Yeah, it's like creating a more peaceful internal environment for sleep. There are actually a lot of spiritual traditions that emphasize practices like prayer or meditation before bed for that very reason.
Now get ready for this next one because it gets kind of out there. So in a post from 2013 called Geometry of the Universe, Henry uses the image of a torus, that donut shape, to represent the universe and our place in it. And he talks about aligning with the will of the Father to reach our full potential.
It sounds like he's suggesting there's this greater force guiding us, and if we surrender to that flow, we can tap into our true purpose.
I wonder what his concept of the Father is, though. Is it a traditional religious figure, or is it more of a metaphor for universal consciousness or something else entirely?
It's open to interpretation, right? It could be any of those things. What's important is that Henry seems to believe in something larger than himself, a force that we can align with to achieve our full potential.
Okay, now for something a little more down to earth. In a post from 2016 called Coffee for the Soul, Henry talks about his love of coffee.
I can relate to that.
He reflects on how even something as simple as a cup of coffee can become this ritual that connects the body and the soul.
I love that. It's like finding those little moments in our day to slow down, appreciate the senses, and connect to something greater than ourselves. It doesn't have to be some big, elaborate spiritual practice. It can be as simple as enjoying a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and doing it mindfully, right? Not just gulping it down on the way to work.
Exactly.
It makes me think about my morning tea ritual. It's not just about the caffeine. It's about taking a few moments to breathe, center myself, set an intention for the day.
It's like a mini meditation.
Totally. All right, ready for a mind-blowing connection. In 2020, Henry draws a parallel between the human heart and the earth in a post called, get this, Watery Heart.
Watery heart. I like that.
He points out that both contain water and both are essential for life. It's so simple, but it's like, whoa.
Right. It highlights the interconnectedness of everything. We often think of the environment as something separate from ourselves, but this reminds us that we're intimately connected to the planet. Our well-being is completely tied to the health of the earth.
And it makes you think about the symbolic meaning of water too, right? Purification, life force, emotions. It's like he's suggesting that by taking care of the earth, we're also taking care of our own hearts, our own well-being.
I love that interpretation. It's a beautiful metaphor.
Okay, so moving on, let's talk about building a solid foundation for life. In a 2016 post, Unwavering Faith, Henry talks about the pyramids.
Oh, wow, the pyramids.
Yeah, he's like, look at those things. They've stood for thousands of years, right?
Yeah.
He's encouraging us to develop a faith that's just as strong and unwavering as those ancient structures.
It's like he's saying, find something you believe in, something that gives you strength and stability, and hold on to that.
It makes me think about what my own personal pyramids are. You know, what are those core beliefs that give me that same sense of strength and help me through tough times?
That's a great question.
All right, this next post is a reminder that sometimes strength comes from asking for help. It's from 2013, called Seeking Help. And he tells this story about a soldier who refused anesthesia during a dental procedure.
Wait, what? Why would he do that?
I know, right? It's because he was trained to endure any pain, to never show weakness. But Henry uses this story to make a point about the importance of asking for help. He's challenging this idea that we always have to be self-reliant.
Yeah, it's like sometimes we need to let go of our pride and admit that we can't do everything on our own.
Exactly. It's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It actually takes a lot of strength and self-awareness to recognize when we need support and to reach out to others.
Absolutely. And you know, a lot of people struggle with that, especially in a culture that often values independence and self-sufficiency. But the truth is, we're social creatures. We need each other.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I got to share one more post that always cracks me up. It's from 2016 called Fitting In.
Ooh, what's this one about?
Okay, picture this. It's a photo of a cat trying desperately to fit in with a group of dogs.
Uh-huh, I can already see it.
He uses this hilarious image to make a point about the lengths people go to for social acceptance. Like, we've all felt that pressure to conform, to fit in, even if it means compromising who we really are.
It's so relatable. It makes you wonder, how much of our energy do we waste trying to fit in instead of just embracing our own unique quirks and qualities?
So true. You know, I spent way too many years trying to mold myself into what I thought other people wanted me to be. It wasn't until I embraced my own weirdness that I finally started to feel comfortable in my own skin.
It's a journey, isn't it? Shedding those masks and personas and just showing up as our authentic selves.
Totally. All right, one last post before we move on to part 2. This one is from 2013, and it's called Morning and Night Gratitude.
Sounds intriguing.
It's actually a really simple practice, but so powerful. Henry suggests starting each day with intention, focusing on what he calls the highest possibility, and then ending the day with gratitude, taking time to acknowledge the help you received along the way.
It's such a good reminder to appreciate what we have and to recognize that we're not alone in this journey.
Exactly. By focusing on gratitude, we shift our attention to the positive, right? And by setting intentions, we're consciously shaping our reality. We're not just passively reacting to life, we're actively creating it.
It's like we're co-creating with the universe.
I love that.
So, going back through all those posts in part one, I was really struck by how often Henry comes back to this idea of interconnectedness.
Totally.
Like starting with that cosmic gardener, right, tending to the earth, all the way to comparing the human heart to the planet.
Watery heart. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he sees this really deep link between who we are on the inside and the world around us.
It's true. And it's not even just about like our relationship with nature or the planet.
Right.
He also talks about human connection a lot. Like how powerful it can be to share your dreams and support each other.
Like in that post, wanting as power.
Exactly. Or, having the courage to ask for help when you need it.
Seeking help, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like community is like a really big part of how he sees the world.
It's interesting, though, because we don't really get a clear picture of his actual community,
Yeah, that's true.
He doesn't mention specific people or talk about his relationships much. But then there's that post, the one with the cat trying to fit in with all the dogs.
Oh, fitting in?
Yeah. And it's funny, but it also makes you think, like, how much of ourselves do we hide sometimes?
Oh my God, yes.
Just to try and be accepted,
Seriously. I laughed out loud when I saw that one, but then I was like, wait a minute.
Right.
I've totally been that cat.
Yeah.
Trying to squeeze into a space where I don't really belong.
Totally. And I think what Henry's getting at least in some of his later posts, is that true belonging doesn't come from trying to be someone you're not. It's about embracing what makes you unique.
Yeah. I was also noticing how his views on, like, faith and spirituality seem to kind of shift over time.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, like in some of those early posts, he talks about, surrendering to a higher power, aligning with the will of the Father and stuff.
Right.
But later on, it seems like he's more focused on practical stuff, like finding inner peace through things like gratitude.
That makes me wonder if he went through a period of questioning traditional religion before finding his own path.
Totally. I can relate to that. I grew up with like a very specific set of religious beliefs, but as I got older, they just didn't fit anymore. It felt like trying to wear shoes that were like 2 sizes too small.
I think a lot of people go through that, especially nowadays. We're exposed to so many different beliefs and ideas. It's not about abandoning faith altogether, but more about finding what works for you.
Finding what feels authentic.
Exactly. And sometimes, honestly, that journey can be a little messy.
Oh, tell me about it.
You have to let go of some old beliefs, maybe confront some uncomfortable truths, even just get comfortable with not knowing everything.
Yeah. And the thing I like about Henry is he's not afraid to show those messy parts.
Right.
He's open about his doubts, his struggles, the times when he feels lost.
Yeah.
And that makes it okay for us to feel those things too.
Totally. In a world where everyone's trying to look perfect, it's so refreshing to see someone being real. Like, it's okay to not have it all figured out. It's okay to stumble.
Exactly. And, sometimes those messy parts are actually where the biggest growth happens.
That's when we learn the most about ourselves, right? When we're willing to be vulnerable, to let go of that need to be right all the time.
Yeah. I think it also takes courage to ask for help when we need it, like in that post about the soldier.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to get stuck in this mindset that we have to handle everything ourselves.
Right. Especially in a culture that's all about independence. But we're not meant to go through life alone.
Yeah, it's like we're all on this crazy journey together.
And sometimes we need a helping hand. And sometimes we get to be the one offering the hand.
It's like this beautiful dance.
Yeah, the back and forth of giving and receiving support. It reminds us that we're all connected. We're all part of something bigger.
So as we head into the last part of our deep dive, what's sticking with you so far?
Yeah, what's resonating? What parts of Henry's journey are connecting with your own?
Take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed. What insights have you gained? What questions are you still pondering? It's time to wrap up our journey through Henry's mind with Nocturnidades. And honestly, I'm feeling a little bit changed by it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like all these simple Facebook posts really got me thinking about my own life, my own search for meaning,
I know what you mean. It's amazing how Henry manages to touch on these like big universal themes, belonging, purpose, taking care of ourselves in the world. And he does it all through these little snapshots of his own journey, right? It's not like he's giving us a big philosophy lecture or something.
No, not at all.
It's just him being honest and real about his thoughts. And that's what makes it so powerful.
Totally. It's that raw, unfiltered quality that makes it so relatable, I think.
Yeah. Like he's grappling with the same stuff we all are. And he doesn't shy away from the messy parts, you know?
Right. The doubts, the confusion, the feeling lost sometimes. He puts it all out there.
Yeah. And that makes it okay for us to embrace those parts of ourselves too.
Exactly. Like, it's a reminder that growth isn't always pretty or straightforward.
Totally. It's not about being perfect. It's about embracing the whole journey, the ups and downs, and trusting that even the tough times can lead to something amazing.
And sometimes, that means letting go of old beliefs that don't serve us anymore, or facing things that make us uncomfortable.
Right.
Or even just accepting that we don't have all the answers.
Mm-hmm. It's like shedding layers, allowing ourselves to become who we're truly meant to be.
And it's in those vulnerable moments when we're not afraid to be imperfect. That's when we often find our greatest strength.
It's like that post about seeking help. It takes a lot of courage to admit that we need support, to reach out when we're struggling.
Yeah.
And yet that's often when we need it the most.
Totally. It's so easy to fall into that trap of thinking, I got to do this alone, I can handle it.
Especially in a culture that puts so much emphasis on being independent, right?
Mm-hmm. But the truth is, we're not meant to go through life alone. We need each other.
Exactly. We're stronger together.
So I guess if we had to boil down like some key takeaways from Nocturnidades, what would you say are the most important things Henry is trying to tell us?
Well, for me, it's about connecting to something bigger than ourselves.
Okay, yeah.
Whether that's spirituality or nature or a community.
Right.
Having that sense of belonging, of purpose, it helps us get through the hard stuff.
Totally. And that connection doesn't have to be some big, complicated thing either.
Nope.
It can be as simple as enjoying a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Or taking a few minutes to be grateful for what we have, like in that morning and night gratitude post.
Exactly. It's those small rituals, those moments of mindfulness that can make such a difference.
And another thing that really stood out to me was the importance of looking inward.
Yeah, introspection.
Henry's always encouraging us to ask ourselves tough questions.
Right.
To really examine our beliefs and motivations. Mm-hmm. And I think through that self-reflection, we get to know ourselves better.
Exactly.
And make choices that are truly aligned with who we are.
It's like trusting that inner compass, knowing that we have wisdom within.
I love that. And sometimes, honestly, that journey of self-discovery, that's the most important journey of all.
It's the one that leads us back to ourselves.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with something to think about.
A little challenge, a little something to ponder.
Henry often uses these visual metaphors in his posts. The gardener, the pyramids, even just that cup of coffee. So we're curious, if you had to choose an image to represent your own journey, what would it be and why?
Take some time to reflect on that. What image captures the essence of your path, your struggles, your triumphs, your dreams?
And what can you learn from that image that might help you on your way forward? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Henry's Nocturnidades. We hope it's given you some food for thought, some inspiration, and maybe even a new perspective on your own journey. Remember, your path is unique and valuable. Embrace the messiness, trust your gut, and keep exploring.